felt like my life was just stopped. In an instant, Mr. C was just taken from me. And I'm still having a hard time wrapping my brain around it. All I remember is my oldest son slamming open my bedroom door. Mama, get up, Daddy's falling. And it's bad. It's really, really bad. And I didn't understand what he was saying because I'm thinking, how'd your dad fall? Your dad doesn't fall around. And I thought he was talking about his grandfather because Mr. C's parents live in the in-law suite and his father's fallen a lot over the past few years. And we've called the ambulance a lot. And I remember running from my bedroom. I don't even think my feet hit the floor. I feel like I was running on air. And I run in there. And I see Mr. C laying on his back. There's the blood on his face. And I'm screaming. Calling his name. And I'm just laying on his chest. And I look in his eyes. I didn't see any life. And I couldn't feel a pulse. And my son pushed me off of him. And he got 911 on the phone and he started doing chest compressions. And I'm screaming. And I don't know how long my son was doing chest compressions, but he was getting tired. And then I hear this banging at the front door, and it's a police officer. He was right around the corner. He came in and took over. And so Mr. C had just got finished playing a game. There was a game he's been playing for 20 years with the same guys. Because his headset and his glasses were on the floor. My son picked up the headset and was talking to all the guys. He said, "What happened? Did anything happen with my dad? Did he say anything?" And they said no, that he just said, "I'll be right back." Because when my son found him, he was face down. He said Hank was just barking his head off, which Hank barks at everything. But it was 10:30 at night, and my son was in his bedroom, and our house is pretty big, so Mr. C's office is on this side, and all the bedrooms are down this way. So he gave it a minute, and he kept hearing Hank, and finally got up. And then Hank was there down the hallway with his ears back. And he said, "What did you do? Did Daddy get on to you?" So my son's walking up to the kitchen, and he's like talking to his dad before he ever gets to his office, which he does all the time. He said, "Dad, what did Hank do?" You know. And as he came around the corner, he saw his dad face down. And Mr. C was a big man, 6 feet tall, over 200 pounds. And my oldest son is small. He's like maybe 130. He's tiny. And he rolled his dad over. And he couldn't find his dad's phone, so he had to run all the way to his room to get his phone. And that's when he slammed my door open. The cop was doing chest compressions, and a few minutes later, the EMTs arrived. And they worked on him for 40 minutes. And they said just for a brief glimmer, they got a little something. And then they had to come here and tell us that they called the hospital. And the hospital said they could stop. And did we want to come into there in Mr. C's office and be with him? But I couldn't stop kissing him. And my son just on the floor and held his hand. I just kept kissing him. And I kept holding my hand over my mouth saying, "This is not happening, this is not happening, this is not happening." And I wanted to vomit. And it took about an hour for the funeral home to come and get him. And as we're waiting for the funeral home to come come and get him. I looked at my son and I said, we need to go downstairs and tell his parents, because his parents live here. They're in their 70s. And they came upstairs and looked at him. And he's still laying there with the blood on his face and the tube down his throat. And I'm like, this is a dream that I'm going to wake up any minute. I'm going to wake up. My son and I stayed up the whole night until the morning when the sun rose. Once the sun rose, I went outside and I walked up and down the driveway for hours, crying in shock and in disbelief. And the worst thing that night was my son having to call his brothers. And I go through moments where I can't stop crying. And then I have moments where I'm numb. I don't feel anything good or bad. And then I have moments where I'm at peace. And at moments where I'm at peace, I feel guilty. I feel guilty that I'm not grieving him in that one moment. And just learning how to navigate life without him. It's going to be so hard. He was my best friend. He was my protector. Every time I would go thrifting, no matter where, it didn't matter if the thrift store would have been located in our backyard and he saw me walking over there, I would still have to text him that I'm here. I did it all the time. When I look at all our text messages, a lot of them were like, I'm here, babe. Okay, babe. And then if I was heading back home, he said, okay, be careful, baby. I'll see you when you get here. I love you. And I know he was never really excited about the stuff I found to resell. But he always complimented me on stuff. And I'm like, babe, look, I got this shirt. It was $1 and it's worth $10,000. I wish. He said, gosh, that's really good, babe. That's really good. And I said, I got 10 orders going out today. He said, I'm proud of you, baby. He said, it's going to keep growing. It's going to keep getting better for you. He was always my biggest supporter. And he watched every one of my videos. He watched all of my videos. And when he could, he'd go out with me to yard sales or to flea markets. He had to work a lot on weekends. And just 2 weeks ago, he said, I won't have to work as much at night on the weekends because we made this thing. He was in IT. I don't know everything he did. I didn't understand half of it. He said, but it's going to free up a lot of time for me. And I would joke. I said, yeah. I said, you can start going to yard sales with me. He said, yeah, I can. I was so looking forward to that, to spending time with him. And I'm so glad he worked from home because we were able to spend so much time together. And my favorite time was when we would sit there and have breakfast together. And I remember telling him, babe, I would rather be nowhere else than right here with you having breakfast. He said, me too, baby. Me too. I would never find a love like that in my entire life. I started dating at 16. We would have been married 36 years in August. I had Mr. C cremated, and we got to go to a viewing a few days ago because I know everybody in the family needed closure. Sometimes you don't believe it. You don't believe it until you see it. And I was sitting there crying, and one of my nieces came up to me. I said, 35 years was not enough. And she said, Aunt Sherry, if you were married 60, you would have said it wasn't enough. It's true, especially when you have such a good man. And I knew that I should feel blessed to have met him so young and to have had such a wonderful marriage. He was a wonderful husband, a wonderful father. And he wasn't perfect. None of us are perfect. But he was close to it. And it went by so quickly. It went by so quickly. And he was so supportive of me. With me doing YouTube and reselling. He encouraged me all the time. He always complimented me on everything I did. And even on my second YouTube channel, everything I did, he watched every video. He loved everything I did. And I hate being in this house. Everything I look at, I see him. And I don't need a house this big without him. I feel like all my hopes, dreams, and aspirations died when he did. There are some moments I don't know what to think. I really don't. And there's moments I have all this anger just brewing inside of me. And I don't want it to boil over. So talking helps. I told my son, I want to break stuff. I want to break stuff. And I want to yell. We have all these little window panes here in the sunroom. I want no more than to take a baseball bat and break every single one of them. And my son said he does too. But I told him we'd have to be the ones to clean it up. And Mr. C and I would often talk about death. And he would always tell me he wasn't afraid. Mr. C was a God-fearing man. And I would say over the past decade, we have really grown closer with God. That has really helped deepen our marriage. And he was ready. He told me that. And he had a friend in the same department he worked in die in January. And I heard him tell me about it. And he said, I hope he was ready. He said, because you never know when it's going to happen. I said, that's right, baby, we never know. And I keep saying there has to be a purpose behind this pain. And if it's where other members of our family realize what a great husband and father he was, and they want to strive to be more like that, that's part of the purpose. That's part of the purpose. And my oldest son's best friend of 25 years, he's been coming over this week, checking in on my son and me, because Mr. C loved him just like a son too. And he told my son, he said, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry for your pain. Well, last night, my son came to my door, and he had a look on his face. I said, what's wrong? And he said that his best friend's father died that day. What are the odds of best friends, fathers dying within days of each other? I told my son, this is not a coincidence. You're there for each other now. You don't know someone's pain until you've walked in their shoes. And now he can help his friend, and his friend can help him. And his friend has 2 brothers, so there's 3 brothers and the mother, just like in my situation. And also, too, one of his brothers works with my middle son. So they both work together, and they both have lost their fathers. And there's something about being with someone who is going through your pain, because Mr. C's brothers and his sister and his mother and father and even his sons don't understand my pain. And it's so hard to put that pain into words for someone who's never experienced it. And I never, ever want to feel this pain again. Mr. C was my everything here on earth. And now I've got to make a lot of decisions without him. When it comes to our home, finances. And I've always been the one to do our finances, so it isn't new to me. But now, just not having him here to say, what should we do with this, or what should we do with that, or should we sell the home? And then I have to think about his parents living here. But thankfully, there are 4 siblings that can help with that, to help out with their mother and father. And his little sister just had a baby back in November. He was a preemie, and just brought him home a few days before Mr. C passed. So Mr. C got to see his little nephew. And while I have so many family members reaching out to me, and I have my sons, I'm still so alone. I lost my mom not even 3 years ago. Some of you know the story that I took care of her when she had dementia. And I was watching something a couple of days ago, and this man described an expected death versus an unexpected death. He described it beautifully. He said, when you expect the death, just like I expected my mother to die, you're standing looking at the ocean and you're seeing the waves roll in and they hit you. An unexpected death is when you have the back to the waves and it just knocks you down. That's how I feel. I just feel like I've been knocked down. But I don't want to live my life being bitter and angry and not wanting to participate in life. Mr. C wouldn't want it that way. We even talked about things like that. You know that if one of us dies, the other one has to keep going on, because I have 3 sons, I have 3 grandchildren, I have a beautiful daughter-in-law. And I want to be there for them. And I really believe by me staying connected to family and to still being a part of my family is going to help me heal. I will never, ever forget this man. Just knowing I'll never feel his touch again. And telling me that he's proud of me. That he loves me. That he thinks I'm beautiful. And it always made me laugh. Oh my gosh, Mr. C had the best humor. He was so witty. Not a day, not hardly an hour went by that he wasn't making me laugh and making me feel beautiful. Those people never get that in a marriage. I was talking to my middle son. I said, why couldn't Mr. C have been a butthole and been mean? I said, this would have been so much easier. He said, Mama, he said, if that were the case, he'd live to be 100. I said, yeah, you're right, baby. You're right. So I am grateful that I got to experience so much love and joy with this wonderful man. But it makes it hurt even worse because he was such a wonderful man. But I know I have a lot of decisions ahead of me. Even when it comes to making YouTube videos, I know you want me to continue doing this. And I did post a video on my other channel. And I posted 2 because people that watch this channel don't necessarily watch the other, and vice versa. And over there, I think there's going to be more of my journal, a video journal, my journey to navigate my life without him. Because I need an outlet. I need someone to talk to, even if it's a camera. I need to get this out of me. And I don't journal in a book or anything. So for me, this is how I express stuff. And I want to get back to reselling. I have to get back to reselling. It's just like anything. You have to work, even when death comes. And I know I look at people going about their daily life. And I'm like, what are you doing? Don't you know my husband died? Why are you still living? Why are you still going about your daily life when mine has stopped? So bear with me. I'll eventually get back to videos here. I don't know what they're going to look like. It may be me crying in the thrift store as we're sourcing for stuff to resell. But I'm not going to allow myself to stay in my house and not participate in life. If I cry at the thrift store, I cry at the thrift store, the flea market, whatever I'm doing. I am going to let the emotions take over. I'm not going to bury them. And I'm going to do my best to put one foot in front of the other. I love to plan everything. I am a huge planner. And my son said, Mom, let's just get through today. Let's just get through this hour. And that's what I'm trying to do. I just know I need to learn to navigate life without him. And that's not going to be easy.